I don't know what we were doing for the whole of history on October the 10th that day. Maybe we were pressing the men's uniforms. I have no idea. In fact, only one woman is mentioned in the entire entry for today, but it is a really good one. It was today, October the 10th, in 1903, that Emmeline Pankhurst founded the Women's Social and Political Union. So, the WSPU was the British women-only political movement which from 1903 to 1917 campaigned for women in the United Kingdom to get the vote. And they became known as the suffragettes. And boy, were they angry. They'd had enough of biding their time, of waiting to be given the equality they were due, so they stopped playing by the rules. They became famous for civil disobedience and direct action. They demonstrated, they marched, they broke the law, they would not be quiet. They heckled male politicians when they spoke. They refused to play by the rules. And what would they think of us today? They would be disappointed. Now, I am not going to suggest that we should leave this room immediately and go out and start smashing the windows of Brussels. But I am here to suggest that we should all stop thinking that the current system is ever going to deliver gender equality. I am 60 years old. I have been fighting for equality all of my life. If I'm honest with you, I'd like a day off. But there is always stuff to do. Back in 1994, I was the first gay woman to come out in British entertainment. For years, I fought for gay marriage, and I have to tell you, it was not an easy battle. I particularly remember a bishop from the Church of England declaring on the radio that he wasn't in favour of gay marriage because he thought LGBT people had enough equality. Enough. It's a great expression. Until then, I did not know you could measure equality like that. And I suspect there are those who think that women have enough equality. Well, you're allowed to wear trousers to work. And it only took until last year with the Weinstein horror for women to begin to think maybe we could go to work without suffering sexual harassment. And it seemed to me that no political party in the UK was, or indeed is, remotely interested in gender politics. Hardly anybody ever mentioned it. So I was tired of this. So in 2015, I rolled up my sleeves, ready to start fighting again, and I co-founded the Women's Equality Party in a desperate attempt to push women's equality, if not to the top of the political agenda, at least to, being on the page. Lots of people asked me, why did you call the party that? Why did you call it the Women's Equality Party? I said, I don't know, I just thought we'd be clear. That was it. I just thought we'd be clear about what it was we were looking for. In just 3 years, the party has grown from an idea on social media to a movement of 45,000 members and supporters, and we have 75 local chapters across the country. We have contested elections, we have drafted legislation, and we have campaigned for change. And along the way, we have learned a couple of things. First of all, it is not difficult to find women candidates when your policies represent them. If you're from a political party and you want more women on the ballot paper, do what we did. Provide free childcare support for candidates and low-income bursaries, and you will find you will be inundated with amazing talent. Secondly, I have to tell you, women's equality, weirdly, it's a vote winner. In our first election, we gained more than 350,000 votes without even having our own office to work out of. And here is the really clever bit. When other political parties see that women's equality is a vote winner, they want a piece of it too. The fastest way to immobilize us is to take on our policies, and I'm fine with that. We're the only political party in the world that hopes one day to no longer need to exist. So the party is focused on 7 core goals. Chief amongst them is equal representation for women in politics, business, and working life. Because we know we cannot achieve our 6 other goals unless we first achieve that one. So how are we going to get this mythical equal representation? Is it going to be ours if we're just all patient enough? Well, here is a terrible flaw in my character. I'm not remotely patient. And there's a reason for that. I know that women's voices are urgently needed at the table, not in a few years, but now. And I know this because of Brexit. The Brexit debate has never been about women. In the build-up to the referendum, 91% of the UK press coverage went to men. And since then, in the parliamentary debates which have focused on the EU, 91% of speaking time has gone to men. And what has been the impact of this disproportionate booming from the boys? It has resulted in issues like business and the economy and trade dominating the conversation, while critical conversations about healthcare, about housing and unemployment have gone unanswered or been brushed over with lies. It is the EU which has given the UK women so much empowering legislation, yet nobody mentioned it. And the result was a historic and, I believe, flawed decision for Britain to leave Europe's embrace. So I am here to beg all of you, please do not be good girls, okay? I was at a party once, and I was standing with Susie Orbach, a wonderful author of the book Fat is a Feminist Issue. And I was standing with her and my wife, okay? And a waiter came along, and he had 2 canapes on a tray, and he offered them to us. Well, there was 3 of us, and we're women, so we all went, no, we all politely declined. And while we were being this polite, a man came along, he picked up one of the canapes, he put it on top of the other one, and he put them both in his mouth. And then he walked off eating while the 3 of us laughed at his behavior. But it isn't really funny. We need to stop being so nice. We need to stop waiting for a woman's turn to lead the European Council, the European Central Bank, or the Eurogroup, to be president of the European Commission. We need to stop believing that the current system, as it stands, will deliver in its own good time. So, I channel Emmeline Pankhurst, and I urge you to be radical, please, in finding a solution to gender inequality before another nation decides to ignore the pesky women's issue and head down the rocky path to nationalism. Because women need to be engaged with this great European project. I give you this warning. If the EU continues to focus solely on economics and ignores the social aspects of the Union, then more women, like the women of Britain, will feel disconnected from the wonderful work you are doing, and they will not vote to stay engaged. Women need to see themselves and their concerns reflected in the work you do, and so it is urgent that all parties and all member states put forward female candidates for leadership positions. Here is the top political tip. If you keep just putting boys forward for the top jobs, then women won't get elected. It's really simple. And right now, what we really need is some fresh thinking. It is not an overstatement to say that ignoring what the women of Europe need will eventually destroy the EU itself. And that is why I am delighted to support the launch of another Europe 2019 campaign today, a Europe built in the image of women. So let me finish with a good news story, right? I always like to finish on something great. So this is a good news story about Wikipedia. I am currently working on a project to increase the content of this encyclopedia. It's the most accessed global source of knowledge in the world, and I want it to include more women. So this is weird, but the current estimate is that 90% of the content of Wikipedia is about men. 1% is not specific, I don't know what it's about, and 9% is about women. 91% is not about women. I don't know what it is about that number, it keeps coming up, that we keep getting to this 91%. Women scientists in particular have been overlooked, and there's been a concerted campaign, for example, to get Wikipedia to include a biography of the amazing Canadian physicist Donna Strickland. But each time, over the years, somebody's tried to edit in her life, it's been deleted on the grounds that she's not notable enough. Last week, on October the 2nd, she was finally accepted for inclusion. Yay! Do you know why? She won the Nobel Prize for physics. She was only the 3rd woman to do so. And apparently for a woman to be remembered on this day in history, that is what it takes. You know, I have in my time risked everything for what I believe in. I have risked my career, I have risked my family, and I'm afraid that's what it takes. So all of you, be bold. Be brave, be at the forefront of change. Please, if you have any power, shake the status quo. Make a noise, make history, don't wait, be annoying, eat both the canapes when they're offered to you. Don't hope that the EU will shift itself. Make them do it. Do it for our daughters, but also do it for our sons. Because if I know one thing, it is that equality is better for everybody. Thank you.